Most people use lasagna pasta in the lasagna style dish, but there are tons of ways you can use these lasagna sheets, and today I'm gonna show you my 3 favorite ways. Do you ever find yourself looking at your pantry and thinking, what can I do with everything that's in here? None of this necessarily makes sense to me. And I don't know about you, but I always find myself with lots of pasta sheets and lots of lasagna sheets thinking that I'm gonna be making lasagnas a lot, but I don't necessarily do. So these are 3 recipes that are really quick to make, use kind of like kitchen scraps and things that you definitely have lying around in the fridge, and maybe add a few things that you might have to buy, and of course, those lasagna sheets. So I'm gonna be showing you how to make a dip and chips, a soup, and some roll-ups. We all love chips, but sometimes when it's late at night, maybe you can't go out of your house to get some. You find yourself with an excess amount of lasagna sheets in your house without the patience to make lasagna. This lasagna dip with lasagna chips is gonna save your life. So today I'm using the regular Ideal Gourmet lasagna. It's really tasty. I love that it has ridges so it holds the sauce really well, and it's made with durum wheat semolina, which means you have a nice bite to your pasta, and it's actually much harder to overcook. Now, very simple. We're gonna go ahead and just listen to the packet instructions and cook it how they tell us to cook it. So we just need a few sheets for our chips. That's gonna go in there and get nice and soft. Once it's completely cooked, we can go ahead and take it out and prick some holes in it, and then we're gonna toss that in some hot oil to get them nice and crispy. Hot pan, olive oil, toast out some garlic. I don't wanna get it too brown, so we're gonna go ahead and straight put our ground beef in there. Add in a bit of salt. All our dried herbs, our garlic powder, mix that all in together. Finally, our tomato sauce. We're just gonna let that reduce gently. We want some of the oils from the tomato sauce to kind of come out a little bit, and then we can go ahead and put that into the dish that we will be putting under the broiler. Our beef is cooked perfectly. That goes into our dip vessel. So we're gonna mimic exactly what a lasagna is, which is usually layers of beef with some bechamel, but we're not gonna be using bechamel because we want really quick, convenient food. So we're just gonna go ahead and add in some ricotta. And this you can cover with parmesan, with cheddar, whatever you wanna use. That goes into the oven until it's fully melted. Just let the steam kind of air dry for a little bit, and we can always pat it dry right on top as well. While that's happening, grab a fork and then just prick the pasta so that way it doesn't expand in the oil. Then you can cut it in whatever shape you want. Our dip straight out of the oven, extremely hot, with our lasagna chips. You can always toss those with some cheese or whatever, or even just a little bit of salt just to give them a bit of flavor. So it kind of looks strange, but honestly it isn't strange, because when you think of chips or nacho chips in general, they're usually made from corn or wheat. So getting a lasagna sheet, which is primarily made out of wheat, and boiling it and then deep frying it is just basically a simple process of making a chip, right? I just like the fact that it's very resourceful. Hot, but freaking delicious. This is actually really good. I mean, you could use these and add like some powdered cheddar on it, or sour cream powder and stuff. But like this with a dip, so good. Let's break through a little bit, get some ricotta. If you love lasagna but don't want to go through all that hassle, these roll-ups will give you all that flavor in half the time. Bit of olive oil, and we're gonna cook down our spinach. You could be using frozen spinach as well, or canned spinach if you want to. When it's nice, soft, and wilted, just like that, that's good to go. Chop that up. We're gonna go ahead and mix that with some ricotta, some black pepper, some salt, pinch of nutmeg, and a whole egg. Mix everything together. This is gonna give us a mix that's nice and creamy, but also kind of just sticks together because of that binder through the egg. We've got our perfectly cooked pasta sheets. Another way you can do this without having to cook them is you can actually just go ahead and leave them in some water for an hour and they will hydrate quite quickly. What I love about lasagna sheets in general and those made with semolina wheat, they're really made for layering, so they're quite forgiving in terms of when you cook them, and they hold together quite well. Whereas other pastas, when you overcook it, it becomes mush. Here, it stays fairly kind of together, which is nice. Then I have some ham. All I'm gonna do here is cut that in half. Just roll everything together, and then we're gonna go ahead and place that in our baking dish. Again, favorite pasta sauce, our lasagna roll ups. Pour some sauce on top. And finish that with as much cheese as you want. Now everything in here is pretty much cooked. We're just waiting for it to come together. Perfectly crusty and brown. We're gonna let that rest for a couple of minutes. Cut into it. Obviously, in that pan, there's some tomato and sauce. Do not throw that away. I should totally make these more often. Like, you could probably get really creative with what you can stuff in it. It's late at night, you just came home from work. The last thing you want to do is slave away over the stove. This soup is your perfect remedy. This is a very hearty soup, so we're just gonna go ahead and chop up a bunch of vegetables, some very classic, almost minestrone-like vegetables, but we're not calling it a minestrone. Just some onions, some carrots, a couple cloves of garlic. Then we're also gonna be using some mushrooms, some spinach, and some basil. Bit of olive oil. We're gonna start off with your carrots, onions. We're not looking for color on anything really here. We just want it to get nice and translucent. And finally, our garlic. Toast out your mushrooms. So this is completely optional, but it kind of reminds me of like a wedding soup. Add some ham. Since we are talking about kind of like food you can make with leftovers, I feel like pieces of ham in soup make a lot of sense. Bring that all together. See beautiful color that we have happening here already. Crushed tomatoes, your broth of choice. Bring this to a simmer, and then we're just gonna simmer everything for 15 minutes. For this recipe, I will be using the Ideal Gourmet no-boil pasta sheets because they're gonna cook a little faster and will come together nicely with the soup. Kind of break them out randomly, and in 15 minutes, this should be good to go. I love the simplicity of this one and how just hearty it is. You can finish this off with ricotta, with mascarpone, with whatever kind of cheese you have. Today, we've used a lot of our parmesan already, so I'm just gonna finish this off with some cheddar cheese. It'll melt right through, which is nice. And then I'm gonna finish it off with just a little bit of basil. More cheese, you never go wrong with more cheese. Black pepper. And you're done. One hot meal served. Look at that. Took about 20 minutes to put together and cook. I mean, flavor-wise, really simple, really straightforward, but it's just like a warm hug. Get some of that pasta. Hot. I'll pull up with my bucket.